All right, let's talk about something that nobody really thinks about when brewing coffee. Water. Yep, plain old water. It is the unsung hero of coffee. Without it, well, you've then pretty much only got coffee grounds. And while we all know the magic is in the beans, today I'm here to tell you that water actually plays a pretty incredible role in how your coffee turns out. And before you tune out, believe me, I don't have time to make perfect water every day either. Most of us are using whatever water's handy to us. Tap, filtered water, maybe something a little bit fancier if we're in the mood. But when it comes to coffee, there's a whole other level of water care that a very small but mighty group of people take very seriously. Honestly, when I first heard about coffee water formulas, I was like, really? I mean, I already spend enough time obsessing over the beans and then thinking about the grind size and its brew time. But then I did try a couple of brews with, let's say, special water. And not to be dramatic, but it was like tasting coffee for the first time all over again. Now, I actually have a couple of personal stories to share about water and coffee that also might make you think twice about using just plain old tap water. First off, picture this. I'm up in northern Canada, absolutely stunning glacier nearby, and we decided to try and make coffee with glacier water. Now, I'm not sure whether it was the scenery or the water itself, but that coffee tasted amazing. It was smooth, bright, and honestly like nothing I'd brewed at home with that coffee before. Then another time in the middle of the jungle in Guatemala. River water on hand, a little risky, I know, but I thought, why not? Same deal, amazing coffee. The flavors that came through, they were intense, they were deep, they were vibrant, and it was almost like the water itself was bringing something special to the coffee. So here's the thing, water is a big deal for coffee, mostly because of minerals. And when you're brewing, these minerals work with or against the flavors found in the coffee grounds. And then the right balance of minerals can bring out all kinds of flavor notes and add sweetness, acidity, even texture and creaminess to your cup. But if your water is, well, boring, your coffee might be too. Now, don't get me wrong, as I've already mentioned, I don't always use fancy water myself, and sometimes convenience does win, and I'm just filling up that kettle in the tap. It hurts a little bit saying that. But look, there are a couple of ways to get the best of both worlds where you can have good water without a huge hassle. And there are two products that I've tried that I do think are worth mentioning. They are Third Wave water sachets and Lotus brew kits. Third Wave water is really cool if you want to make a big batch of perfect coffee water, especially for espresso, as you'd be filling up that espresso machine with liters. You just mix it in the distilled water itself, and it's balanced to bring out the best in your coffee and protect your machine. It's pretty easy, honestly. Then there's Lotus brew kits. These are more for creative types. With Lotus, you can adjust the minerals yourself. So this is great for filter coffee if you want to experiment with different water recipes and flavors. And then again, it really isn't a huge commitment. It's just a little tweak that makes a big difference. So I thought, why not? Let's just do an experiment to see if all this fuss over water actually makes a noticeable difference in the cup. Now, I will have prepared 4 different waters here, and we're going to be doing a cupping. First off, we're going to be using the Third Wave medium roast profile, as well as a filter coffee profile that Lotus recommends, as well as tap water and demineralized water. Now, I've got 4 kettles set up behind me. And each of these coffees is going to be the same. It's going to be brewed the same. Same method, same dose, same grind. So any flavor differences should come down to the water itself. Let's get these brewed up and we'll see if there's really something going on here, shall we? All right, so I think I've already set this cupping up it's going to be blind, obviously. I've used the 4 waters. The coffee that I'm tasting today, this is an important factor, obviously is an Ethiopian coffee. It has floral, mango, blueberry tasting notes. It is a natural coffee. So very fruity, very floral. So I think, what are we up to? Yep, we're just about ready to cup. I'm just going to cup them all and then tell you what each cup, I guess, tastes like one by one, and then we'll just reveal after that. What do you say? Let's do this. Gonna need a spit cup. This has dropped off quite a bit actually. That's weird. Let's do that again. So these two cups, I've just switched them around actually. I do find that coffee does change as it cools down a little bit. We're on to about 12 minutes now of these cups cooling and me tasting it. This one was just from the start, no good, just didn't taste good. This one from the start tasted great, like it actually jumped up ahead, but now it's kind of falling off again, similar to this one. So it's just flat. Like it had that sweetness and acidity up front, but then it's just kind of like flatted out and gone nowhere. This was like the sweetness with high acidity and more body than anything, and it kind of carries in and adds a little bit of lingeringness to it. Yeah, this is a much lighter cup than the rest of them. It doesn't have as much body in it. It's quite floral, very sweet, balanced acidity, nothing kind of like standing out other than the fact that it's a very light, floral, fruity cup of coffee. These two are my top cups and these two are just flat. These have carried through and these have just fell off the cliff, basically. I'm pretty well guessing that this end cup is the demineralized water because there is 0 minerals in the water, so I couldn't expect too much of the capacity of that water to pull flavor out of the coffee. And if that was the case, red is tap water, white is Lotus, green is third wave tap water, and yellow is demineralized water. So I'm guessing this is yellow. Yes, it is. Yellow. Do not brew with demineralized water if you want a very boring, plain cup of coffee. This then, I'm guessing, would be the tap water, which would be red. That it is. Very good. Now these two, since this one, I guess, has more body to it, I'm guessing that it is the medium roast profile with the third wave water. And if that's the case, red, white, green. Bada boom, bada bang. And white. Red, white is Lotus. So yeah, Lotus is my favorite brew. The third wave water was my second favorite. It just didn't kind of hold up as bright and juicy as the Lotus did. And then we can just kind of forget about these two because these honestly just are not enjoyable. Now, let's do espresso tasting. All right, and whilst I've been able to taste all of these back to back next to each other pretty much at the same time, as I only needed to boil kettles and then pour all the water out within a small time frame, the espressos, which I'm about to do, well, they're a little bit more tricky. Obviously, I'm not gonna be emptying a boiler every time, so I'm gonna be using the Flair 58. However, I won't be able to taste the coffees side by side like I've done here, so I will be just tasting them one at a time. Let's go. All right, first espresso up. This is this is just the tap water, so this is not even the demineralized water, and I'm quite used to drinking tap water, but let's see how we go. What does this coffee taste like? Blood orange, ripe cherry, dark chocolate. It is a black honey process. Now I won't have much to go on until I have a comparison on the next espresso, but there's like this really unbalanced bright acidity, no sweetness, barely any body. It's not battery acid, but it's just like unpleasant. There's no enjoyable lingering aftertaste, and there's probably a hint of bitterness. All right, let's go to the next one. So this is the Lotus brew recipe, and I pulled this one again off their website. Really easy to follow, like I've mentioned before. This, I went with one of their espresso profiles this time, which was the Simple and Sweet. Simple and Sweet, which was pretty good. Had a lot of sodium and magnesium in it, and none of the others. Interesting. Let's try. Oh, it's crazy how different it is to the regular tap water. Like there's way more sugar up front. That's quite sweet. I have to get these tasting notes again just to kind of help me through this. There's blood orange, there's the sweetness, there's like a crisp acidity that's kind of like cherries, just waiting for the dark chocolate. It's kind of coming along, it's lingering. You can get that kind of like, there's a hint of sweet bitterness at the end. And as it's cooling, those ripe cherries are coming through. That's really nice. I wouldn't call that simple at all though. That's a really complex cup of espresso versus what I just previously had, which was just kind of like this really bright and unbalanced coffee. Whereas there's a ton of brown sugar sweetness in this. It's really balanced with the acidity, which is nice and crisp. There's some cherries, there's the blood orange that carries into the dark chocolate. That's almost those flavor notes to a T. That's delicious. That is really nice. All right, next espresso. This one is made with third wave water. It's not the medium roast profile this time. This is the espresso roast profile. Now this one is great as it will also protect your machine as there is no lime scale within the recipe. But that also goes for the Lotus Brew kits as well. Third wave espresso roast profile. Let's check it out. This is like a traditional espresso, but it's not as pronounced as it was with the Lotus Brew kit. It is definitely really well balanced. There's like a good amount of sweetness. There's a good balanced acidity in here. There's some chocolates. There's probably a little bit more chocolates in this than there was in the Lotus Brew kit, but the Lotus Brew kit had the most incredible sweetness and acidity, and that was really well balanced. This is really well balanced, but the sweetness and the acidity is not as pronounced. Whereas I guess those other lingering flavors like the dark chocolate in here, probably a little bit more pronounced, but nothing that's really jumping out at me. It's still a very enjoyable cup of coffee. And there's definitely a little bit more sweetness coming in as it cools down, as I get further down the espresso. But otherwise, I would still say right now, the Lotus Brew Kit water profile is just a hint better than this for this particular coffee. But I can see the benefits in both. All right, last but not least, the demineralized water espresso. Just saying that out loud doesn't sound right. Demineralized water espresso. It's just flat. It's like someone tried to make espresso with chalky water. Like adding chalk to water and then making an espresso with it. It's like chalky water with espresso that's espresso flavored. Does that make sense? Like, I know it's the last espresso that I'm tasting right here, but there's nothing in there. Like, it's amazing that you can go from something like the Lotus Brew Kit, where I was losing my mind about the flavors, to this, which is was just a cup of sadness, really. Like, I would not want to be drinking this often, thinking there's something wrong with my grind or there's something wrong with the beans, when it could just be the water. And look, I get it. Making perfect water isn't practical every single day. Most days, I'm likely just to turn on the tap. But I think if you are looking to experience coffee a little differently, I would definitely give either the Lotus Brew Kit or any one of these third wave water sachets a go. You can pick up some demineralized water really cheap from any convenience store or shopping center. I would say give it a try. Perhaps try it on the weekend or on a special coffee session occasion. See if you notice the difference if you're able to test them side by side. Pick a coffee you really like, brew one cup with regular tap water, and then say the other with a third wave water, or even just filtered water. That's mineral balanced even. Do a taste test, see if you can taste a difference. And then definitely let me know in the comment section whether you think it's a game changer or if you're just gonna stick to using tap water. Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts. This has been crazy. I am definitely feeling like there are 4 espressos charging within me right now, but it has been a flavor experience and has, I guess, equally confirmed that perhaps I should not be using personally tap water myself, and I'll stick to one of these, perhaps experiment a little bit more. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Certainly, if you've learned anything, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, we'll see you in the next video. Happy brewing.